everybody. Welcome back. Hello from Los Angeles. This is Towers Take, brought to you by Marcos Pizza, America's #1 pizza company, and welcome you to Los Angeles. I am where I've been working for most of the afternoon. It is still afternoon here. I'm 3 hours ahead of you. It's a beautiful, gorgeous day in Los Angeles. I'm not trying to rub it in. I have not checked the Georgia weather today, but I'm assuming it's not 78 degrees and sunny as it is here. And unfortunately, I'm having to be out. I'm having to be indoors at the moment, not outdoors though. I was outdoors this morning, and it was absolutely awesome. Seth Emerson was just out at the Georgia at the StubHub Center where Georgia's practicing. You should be able to read some practice observations on DogNation.com or on your DogNation app. I am going to try to be able to read your comments here, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. There we go. Looks like they're coming up now. And let's see here. Yeah. Always forget to mute that. And I'm going to take your questions just in a minute here when I get this all set up. I apologize for the issues. But here we go. Hang on. Do it like this. There we go. I see you, Michael Ryan Wilson and Randy Griffin. Kenny Paul Stacy says, see you there, so he'll be away. I'll be looking down a lot today because I've got kind of a makeshift situation here in my room. But anyway, it's been a very fun trip so far, very productive. It's kind of interesting, you know, the way Kirby kind of runs his shop all season is kind of the same style as Nick Saban in that one voice, one message. But that all goes out the window once you get to postseason. Actually, it started in the Southeastern Conference with the Southeastern Conference Championship. Everybody was available in that post-game locker room, so we had first chance to talk to Jake Fromm. Then here at the Rose Bowl, as all major bowls, the coordinators must be made available for interviews. So we got a chance to meet with Jim Chaney this morning. For a long time, nearly an hour, I guess it was, worth of interviews with him and Jake Fromm, several members of, you know, what Georgia calls their leadership committee. Most of those guys have been available throughout anyway, but they've been available so far. But later this week, they'll have, you know, what they call the media day, which is kind of like the Super Bowl. From the standpoint of everybody on the team. I mean, everybody that Georgia brought, and I would imagine they brought the whole squad, walk-ons and everything, 105 or so. I got a couple of questions here. Anybody missing? And yeah, you know, of course, there are a few players that aren't here. You know, most notably among them, Natrez Patrick is now getting treatment back in Athens as well. He should, and I'm actually not sure on Latavius Brenny. Seth may have some kind of update on that on your practice observations. Be sure to check DogNation.com or your DogNation app for updates on that. But generally, everybody is present and accounted here. 45 degrees, Raphael Harris is telling me in Jacksonville. I am so sorry to hear that. You know, this is my first time. I mean, I'm excited. You know, generally I'm a jaded old journalist. I know that. I'm comfortable with that. But I'm excited about being in California, being at the Rose Bowl in particular. I've mentioned on previous broadcasts that this is a bucket list for me as a professional journalist. Didn't know if I'd ever get out here for any occasion. I'm really glad that I made it. Hello, Brad Bush. Good to see you, man. I'm really excited about that. Going to try to take a drive up to Pasadena later this afternoon. I haven't actually seen the Rose Bowl. So yesterday we went up to Anaheim, to Disneyland, specifically to California Adventure, where they had the lots of pomp and circumstance to welcome the two teams in the middle of that vast amusement park. And then we got a chance to talk to some of the players for a little while out there at the stadium. Let's see, I'm trying to get some more comments up here. And so that was interesting. I kind of had some fun with it in my Towers Take, which are my columns each day. Now I'm seeing some reaction on here. Good to see all the thumbs up and hearts out there. With one of the things Kirby said before they left Athens was, we're not going out there to ride rides. And of course, of the first day in California, what are they doing? They're riding rides. And so that was kind of funny. But, you know, it is a bowl game at the end of the day, but it's also a playoff. And that's really the balance that Georgia and Oklahoma are trying to maintain here. You want your players to have fun for everything that they've accomplished in the hard work. And it's raining, Matt Wilder points out. I'm so sorry to hear that. You want them to be rewarded for a season of hard work, but you know they're playing for a lot. And the funny thing, you know, talking to Sony Michel yesterday and Nick Chubb and the captains on the team, they really don't think that's going to be that bad of a problem. You know, it's not really the bowl events that they put together, such as I think it's Lowry's Steakhouse tonight or the Beef O'Brady's. You know, they got all these things planned for them. It's really after that, what you do on your own, that you worry about. And I'm not saying Georgia or Oklahoma, either one has a discipline problem. But you know, anybody young in that set, the tendency is wanting to party and have fun. And you know, there's Kirby and the guys riding that that unbelievable ride. What was the name of that thing? The Galaxy thing. That was hilarious. And it was really scary, is what they said. And Sony Michel would not get on, by the way. They wanted them all to get on there. And Sony took a pass on it. And Roquan Smith, as you can see there, he has Coach Smart's arm, nearly broke it. Kirby says. Roquan said he hadn't been on anything like that before. But, you know, I mean, that kind of fun is fine. It's the after midnight kind of fun that you really want to avoid these things. And look, I can tell you years later all kinds of great stories that I've heard from former players about what they did at this bowl and what they did at that bowl, whether it be on Bourbon Street or what have you. But I honestly don't believe that's going to be an issue for Georgia. I think the 31 seniors that are on this team, that leadership committee, has a good hold of that. And I think beyond riding a few rides now and then, they are very much focused on the task at hand. Hello, Mike Lage. Good to know you'll be here on Saturday. Yeah, I had a question doing a radio interview earlier. Is there evidence of all the Bulldogs out here just yet? Not really. Now, when we were at California Adventure, there were, you know, a good representation of Georgia fans at that little gathering. A lot of them, I'm not sure how many of them were actually in the team party, though. You know, a lot of coaches' wives and kids and traveling party people were there. The majority of the people, you know, let's face it, aren't going to come to L.A. for a week like I will be here before it's all said and done. Most of them are coming this weekend. A lot of Georgia fans I know of personally are pulling into town on Friday. A lot of them on Saturday. The game's not till Monday, so you know that's when the majority of people are showing up. Jeffrey Wilson, Peter Jeffrey Wilson, sure that's a frightening ride that he's been on before. Eli Brown wants to know if there's any injuries of note on the team. There's not. Georgia's remarkably healthy in all this, and sorry about that, Mike. That's funny. Yeah, and Derek Lucas is talking about the curfew for the players, and my understanding is they don't have one right now. That will kick in later. But again, I do believe that this is a self-policed team largely. The problems with Natrez, Patrick aside, really Georgia has been a very disciplined team. And, of course, there's the Jason Stanley issue. He's not here either. There they are coming into the park yesterday, and as you can see, it was just gorgeous. It was actually in the low 70s yesterday, high 60s, low 70s. over there in Anaheim, and they got to spend the afternoon there. They started the day with practice, and they're practicing again this afternoon, and they'll be practicing in the afternoon pretty much the rest of the week. This week they're concentrating hard on Oklahoma. That is strategy for stopping and containing Baker Mayfield and that incredible Oklahoma offense and dealing with all that. They're concentrating on that this week. They did a little bit last week. Kirby said they split time both for preparing for Oklahoma, but mainly it was more like a preseason camp for the Bulldogs back in Athens. Now that they've gotten here, they'll concentrate on actual strategies and installing the game plan offensively and defensively for Oklahoma. Kirby talked about it. You don't want to overload them too much. Thad Money has a good question. Any signs of overconfidence? No, I wouldn't say that at all. That really hasn't been Georgia's MO all year. I think they're confident. I think they're quietly confident. I think they very much reflect their leadership, and that is Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and Isaiah Wynn, John Atkins, guys like that. They're Roquan Smith even. They're not really not real chest beaters. They're confident in the way they play, but they do think they do give their opponents a lot of credit, and they seem to go with a pretty good humility. Teddy, I can't read your last name there. Just Lawrence, I think it is. How much of a factor will number 7 be? You're talking about DeAndre Swift. He'll be a factor. I mean, so I just got through writing a story, which I hope you'll go on Dog Nation and read. It's what we call the cover story for the day, and it's on Chubb and Michel, the combination, how Georgia has a very rare duo in those two. There have been great running back duos throughout history in college football, but rarely do you see them stay together for 4 years like these guys have. As a result, they have nearly 8,000 yards between them, both rushing and receiving touchdowns. I forget what it is combined. I know Chubb has rushed for 42 of them himself, second only to Herschel Walker. And, third, on that list of rushers is now Sony Michel, who needs 52 yards, by the way, in this game to become a 1,000-yard rusher, to give Georgia 2 1,000-yard rushers in the same season for the first time in school history, which is quite a surprise. Thank you, Bash Harden. I appreciate that. Do I believe Eason will transfer to Miami? I don't know about Miami. I do still believe he will transfer, and that is not based on any inside scoop or anything. I mean, I've tried to reach out to the family and talk to some people. Nobody's going to talk about that right now in pursuit of a national championship. Jim Chaney had some wonderful things to say about Jacob Eason today. So did Jake Fromm. He's been a model teammate, certainly with that type of situation befalling him, being the man and then being a backup for no other fault than you got hurt. It's a difficult situation. But it's just Jim Chaney said, they didn't go with any premeditated plan into that situation. The thought was that, Jacob Eason would come back when he was healthy, but what happened is what we all saw, what we all witnessed was Jake Fromm just kept answering the bell in each particular minute, each particular moment that was presented to him and coming through. Georgia only lost one game. After that, they were undefeated going into the Auburn game. And, as Jim Chaney said today, he said, you can't mess with that, whether they would be in this situation, whether Jacob were at the controls or not, we'll just never know. But generally, I don't know that that Jacob would necessarily go to Miami. Certainly has a relationship with Mark Richt and that staff, and that might present a good opportunity. But he may choose to go somewhere where he doesn't have to sit out, which would be a JUCO situation. I personally think that's a smart situation for him because you can, either immediately turn pro after a year in junior college, or you could size up your situation and transfer somewhere where they need some help originally. Bridget Bellamy is on here, Davin's mom. Good to see you, Mrs. Bellamy. She is so loyal to, and let me tell you, she keeps up with everything that we all write about her son and everybody else's son. That's the way she looks to this situation, and as well, all these parents do. These are their something to keep in mind, whether you're writing and reporting like I do, or if you're on social media criticizing or putting your comments. You got to remember these are all somebody's son, and certainly Davin's a good one. Really come to appreciate that young man from Chamblee and the job that he has done. Matt Talley says here, I love Eason. He has to do what he has to do for him, though, and he's still going to be a top pick in the NFL one day. I don't know whether he'll be a top pick, but he'll definitely get an NFL opportunity with his size, 6'6" and 230, 240 pounds. He put on it would have been interesting to see how he was going to play this season. I mean, I was impressed with the way he had developed physically. What we never got to find out was just how well he had developed mentally, as far as the game is concerned. As Kathy Hartman points out with a heart at the end of her sentence, Jake and the dogs have got this. And that was interesting hearing Jim Chaney's thoughts on Jake Fromm, how he has just proven to him that he can handle pretty much any situation, and he's come through time and time again. And they keep giving him more and more to digest in terms of the playbook, and he has been able to answer it. He hasn't been overwhelmed. Jake himself talked about he generally doesn't get real nervous because he puts his focus and energy into preparation. If he has any fault, it might be to over-prepare a little bit. But when it comes to a game, he's just one of those guys that has the gift, I would say it is, to be able to take what he has learned in the classroom and on film and be able to apply it on the field. He is not invincible. We saw against Auburn, when Georgia's offensive line is overwhelmed, there's only so much you can do. And excuse me, that's what Jim Chaney was saying about his offense. I asked him how much more RPO were they running this season than last, and they are running a lot more RPO. That's run pass option. Some of that has to do with Jake Fromm being at the controls, but he said the main difference in last year's offense and this year's offense is blocking. You got to block, and that was the biggest part. You can be, he's not really any different as an offensive coordinator than he was last year. Certainly, every year is one unto itself in terms of what's at your disposal, what kind of talent you have, and what kind of plays you call. But whether they work or not, Jeff Blazevich was talking about this today, talking about Jim Chaney. He says it's up to us to make the plays work. Every time a coach calls a play, he expects it to score. That's the intention. And Georgia, didn't have that many scoring plays. They have this year, and a lot of the reason why is some of those pictures that you're seeing on your screen now. Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, one of the greatest running back duos, the greatest running back duo in Georgia history. I tried to make a little bit of an argument, but I was not able to research this from a real historical perspective as to what the best duos of all time. I mean, obviously you had Lindell White and Reggie Bush. Based on what I read up on, those two guys are generally considered the best running back duo of the modern era. They were at Southern Cal in 2005 and had ungodly numbers between them that year. With Chubb and Michelle, they have over 2,000 yards and 26 touchdowns between them. If you think about that, that's outproducing Herschel Walker, who had 1,616 yards and 16 touchdowns in Georgia's national championship season. So they are being extremely productive. That's not counting DeAndre Swift, who a lot of people believe that he may end up being better than both of them when it's all said and done. And Georgia's just got a great thing going with tailbacks, running back you for sure. I think they at this moment in time, probably should own that that title. Let's see what we got here. Joe Rush, I don't know what he's talking about there. Mike Lage is pointing out that the Bulldogs are in the Hotel Intercontinental downtown. All of us are downtown here. I'm in a Marriott downtown. The media hotel, the primary one where they're doing most of the press conferences, the LA Hotel downtown. The area that I'm in, I'm looking out of my window. It's looks a little bit like Times Square. It looks like a baby Times Square. They have some big billboards, lots of down near the Staples Center. There's lots of restaurants and activities, a lot of overpriced food, but there's some good food too. There's some good Mexican. Had some great Mexican last night. You know, I'm eager, like I said, to get up to Pasadena and Old Town in Pasadena. I'm told it's really something to see, so I'm going to try to scout that out and give you a little report maybe tomorrow. I'll have a Towers Take up later. Like I said, I have You're Planning for Opponent weekly series is up now. Seth has already written a couple of things and some practice observations. Brandon Adams and Mark LeBlanc are out here. Have been providing a lot of video for you. We're doing a lot of Facebook Live, so be sure to check out the Dog Nation Facebook page throughout the day. We're about to run out of time here, so give me some questions if you have anything specific you're looking for if I missed. Gurley and Ogletree, actually, you know, I failed to mention that earlier today. I'll have to find a way to mention this. Gurley did come by and visit the team yesterday. He did visit the team. He came to the hotel and visited with those tailbacks that were his teammates at one time. Thank you, Kathy Hartman. I appreciate that. We're just doing our best here. Billy Kibbe points out that Georgia's defense is forcing turnovers is going to be a major factor, and that always is certainly in championship games, the turnovers. If you think about you know, Georgia's 1980 team, there's probably never been a greater team at creating turnovers than that one did, and it saved their butt several times. You know, that's one of the differences in the 1980 team and this team. While the 1980 team never lost a game, they played a bunch of close ones. And this team, you know, obviously lost one against Auburn, lost big, came back and redeemed themselves in that one, but generally has beaten everybody pretty handily. Eric Henson, that's a ridiculous comment. And my latest prediction, Jerry Lewis wants to know, that's Jerry with a G, is still that Georgia's going to win the football game. I haven't pinned down a score just yet, but I do like Georgia in most of the matchups, certainly in being more physical and a better running team, ball control. And I think if defensively they can hold Oklahoma under 30 points, which maybe one team has all year. I have to go back and check that. They win the game. No, I'm not going to. I'm not planning on going to see the Rams. Yeah, they are playing on Sunday. Right now, I was talking to Nick Chubb about that today. No plans for them to go to the game. You know, a day before their biggest game of their careers. They'll be preparing for the Rose Bowl still on that Sunday and not go to that game. But like I said, they have already seen Todd Gurley. Angie Cooper says, "Bring it home, dogs." Georgia girl is cheering for you from Elba. Hey, is that Alaska? Brad Bush wants to know if there's any injuries to report at Oklahoma. I don't know any right now. We're going to get more into Oklahoma later this week. Seth had a story up about Oklahoma earlier today from this morning's round of interviews. Floyd Bryant wants to know, do you think we need any trick plays in this game? You know, if you notice, there hasn't been generally many trick plays run at all by Georgia this season. You know, I don't think Kirby Smart is a big believer in that. He has tried it a few times. I think more important, you know, turnovers and big special teams plays tend to decide these things. Yeah, Chelly Lewis points out that Texas held them to 29, but they did win that game. Kenny Dickerson wants to know if I think McCole will break a kickoff for a TD. I think he will. If it's not this week, it's sooner or later. He has been really close. McCole Hardman is really developed. You know what's interesting about McCole? I think he's faster than Isaiah McKenzie. He's just not quite as shifty, and that's where he's just been eyelash away from breaking. If you could just, like people have gotten him by a shoelace once or twice. I don't think there's anybody on the field for Oklahoma who can run with McCole Hardman. I know Oklahoma fans will say, "Oh yeah, we can. We're fast too," and they are fast. But McCole Hardman is, not quite Olympic fast, but he does run a leg of Georgia's 4x100 NCAA qualifying sprint team. So he is ridiculously fast and a good football player, good size as well. Come a long way. Flags will be flying down I-5 on Saturday. Can't wait. Yeah, that's another interesting thing here is that there's a whole lot of Georgia fans that live here in California. I would say somebody from the UGA Alumni Association told me that I think there's 7,000 UGA alumni living in Southern California area, which is encompasses San Diego and Los Angeles, and they're all over out here. They're very excited about Georgia being here. I have to wrap up now. I'm getting the wrap-up signal. We just have a ton of stuff coming at you. We've got a whole crew out here in California providing coverage, and in addition to all of us at Dog Nation, Atlanta Journal-Constitution columnist Jeff Schultz and Mark Bradley are here writing stuff. So there's just more than you can possibly consume, I would imagine. But it's an exciting time. We're happy to bring it to you. Thank you so much to Marco's Pizza for sponsoring this little segment with these guys. But y'all be sure and patronize them. Look them up online. They got places all over Atlanta and one in Watkinsville as well that can deliver to a lot of places in Athens. Be sure and try them out if you haven't tried them. They're really good. America's #1 pizza company. I'm going to get back to work here. My laptop's right behind me. I got stuff to write. And you can read it on Dog Nation. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye, y'all.